For months, privacy advocates have been fighting a bill in the Senate called the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act. The bill is meant as a safeguard for cybersecurity, think protecting companies and the government from hacks. But opponents say the broad language in the bill flies in the face of privacy concerns and will actually help the government spy on us. RT's Aaron Aid is in New York to tell us why giant tech companies are slamming the act for being creepy. But first, RT's Anya Parampil is at the Capitol. Anya, I know this bill was just overwhelmingly passed in the Senate. What's the final count?
Well, overwhelming is certainly the word, Simone, as CISA was passed yesterday afternoon by a 74 to 21 vote. So not much opposition demonstrated yesterday to CISA. And that's really simple, Simone. It's mostly because no matter who you ask, even opponents to CISA, the time for cybersecurity legislation in the United States is now. The Congress didn't have its fair shares, and the American people really did have their fair share of scares when it comes to cybersecurity this year, whether that was the OPM hack, which affected the personal data of 4 million people, or even the high-profile hack of CIA Director John Brennan by someone who basically described himself as a pothead teenager in his parents' basement, and said he was able to easily hack into the CIA director's personal email and show those emails with the world. So those types of scares, which showed the kind of hacks that are possible, is really what pushed this legislation through Congress. However, critics say the language is still so broad, it's hard to see how it will be truly effective. And so that's why there were multiple amendments proposed by many senators to try and make the language more specific. Unfortunately, they all failed. And these were also amendments put forward by privacy advocates in the Senate who say, of course, that the privacy of their constituents is their number one concern, because the whole point of CISA is to make the sharing of data between private corporations and the federal government, about a dozen agencies such as the FBI and NSA, the sharing of personal data between those two entities easier. And so one amendment that was put forward by Senator Ron Wyden, the Wyden Amendment. What Senator Wyden was basically concerned with is the sharing of your personal information. He pointed out that the way CISA works is now if you enter into a privacy agreement with any given company, say Google, right? We all sign up for Google accounts and check a box saying we agree to the personal relationship that we have with Google in entering our data, and that Google agrees to respect our privacy. Now, if Google were to violate that contract and share your data with the federal government, Google is protected from you by CISA. And so what Wyden was trying to do was specify the language saying that your personal data should be removed from these types of files to the extent reasonably feasible. That was the language he wanted to change, because the way CISA is written now, it said only if you have, it is known that your data is not going to be shared with the federal, or not tied to a cybersecurity hack should it be deleted. So kind of giving more of a reasonable doubt to the federal government when it's looking for your data. His amendment failed in a 41 to 55 vote. Then there's the Leahy amendment. Put forward by Senator Patrick Leahy. What he was focused on, is where it gets really interesting, Simone, because CISA actually makes the data that the federal government collects from you here exempt from Freedom of Information Act requests. And Franken's amendment would have loosened that exemption slightly, so that if you were to file a FOIA with the federal government, you could see which personal data it has. His amendment also failed 37 to 59. And then finally, there was the Franken amendment. Al Franken put this amendment forward, Senator Franken, trying to just better define, make more specific the definition of cyber security threat. Because the way CISA is written, it said you're a threat if you may commit harm to a network. All Senator Franken wanted to do was change that to reasonably likely. If you're reasonably likely to commit some sort of crime, then you're a threat. But his amendment also failed 35 to 60. So any attempt really to strengthen the language here, make it more specific, protect privacy, but also perhaps make CISA more effective, failed yesterday.
So 74 yay votes for the broad language. Now, Anya, the presidential race in full swing. Third GOP debate is tonight. Now, several of the candidates serving in the Senate are asking for America's vote. So how did they vote on this bill?
Interesting you ask, Simone. You're right. There are 5 presidential candidates who are still serving out their terms as senator. 4 of them Republicans. You have Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Rand Paul, and Senator Marco Rubio. None of them casted votes yesterday for or against CISA, which of case in this type of vote was a vote for CISA because it had a clear majority. So interesting there because Senator Rand Paul had actually been a vocal opponent of CISA the past couple of weeks and even put forward his own amendment to try and strengthen privacy, which also failed. And then, of course, there's the Democratic contender, Bernie Sanders, senator from Vermont. He did vote no. He voted against CISA, one of the 21 senators to take that position yesterday.